hot. It is inhospitable. It is unforgiving. No, I'm not talking about the desert. I'm not talking about all the fun you can have in Vegas. I'm talking what happens inside the air-conditioned Thomas and Mack Center and the Cox Pavilion, where you're trying to find the spot in the NBA. Welcome to the MGM Resorts NBA Summer League, back at the Cox Pavilion for the third game for both the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. As we take a look at what happened so far, we've had 10 games each day. This is our fourth day of action. And PJ Carlesimo, who's right next to me, has seen quite a little bit of it. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we're seeing these young Pacers and the Cavaliers in the post-LeBron James era. Alongside PJ Carlesimo, I'm Albert Martin. George Sedano will join us in a second. We've had a lot of different storylines, but you've seen a lot of basketball here in Vegas. What's been your favorite so far?
Well, I like the way the guys have stepped up. You had a lot of the young guys, in particular Alvaro, struggle the first game. I mean, you know, for us, we say, well, it's Summer League, it's not the same thing. For these guys, it's their first exposure to professional basketball, and a number of them struggled in the Friday or early Saturday games. Now, as they get a second or third game under their belts, they're playing so much better. They're kind of playing up to the level of the first or second year players who are in the league. So I'm enjoying that. It's getting better each succeeding day.
Some of that pressure is self-imposed. Imagine if you're the 8th selected overall in the first round of the draft and you're following in the footsteps of LeBron James, who left for LA, Colin Sexton.
Yeah, Colin Sexton's got a pretty big shoes, not to try and fill, but to try and follow right there. I'm sure he would have loved to have played with him, but he's acquitted himself very well. Plays with a lot of confidence. He's a big, strong guy. Of course, playing big advantage playing for Avery Johnson. So we got, a coach who knows what it takes to be successful in the NBA.
This is what he's done on Friday against the Wizards and yesterday, a couple days ago against the Chicago Bulls. Remember, he has now one more turnover than assists so far over 2 games. That slowly will change for him.
For sure. He's a guy, he's clearly a score-first guy, but he's competitive, he's aggressive, he defends. He's going to be a very good NBA player. He's going to get a chance to play and do more with Cleveland than he would have playing with LeBron.
And he's got a great matchup today against Aaron Holiday, yes, of the famous Holiday NBA family. He'll be a point guard. He's looking for a spot with the Pacers. He probably has a spot on that team.
Yes, he does. And again, he's ready. These are 2 guys that, we talk about young guys coming in. These are 2 young players who I think are ready to play, get meaningful playing time, and they're not going to be intimidated. Aaron Holiday, obviously, with his 2 brothers in the league already, has a good feel for this.
He had 6 turnovers in the loss against Houston, had 7 assists in the win against Washington. As we take a look at the lineup. No Ante Zizic for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, that's too bad. He's played well. They're resting him. He's okay. Our fans in Cleveland and the Ohio area watching, no injury, just a rest day for Ante.
Both teams come in here with a win and a loss. Remember, teams here, all 30 here for the first time in Vegas, will play 3 games and then get placed on a 1 through 30 ranking, and then they will work their way into a championship. You will play at least 5 games. You may end up playing up to 8, and we've had some tremendous action in Vegas in years past. Seti Osman takes the first shot of the game. This is a Cavaliers team, of course, that is living the second post-LeBron era.
Yeah, amazing. Obviously, one significant move doesn't just change things everywhere, as Mr. Holiday right off to the start we wanted to see, but doesn't just change the landscape in the Eastern Conference, and particularly for the Cavaliers, changes it for the entire NBA.
Of course, he led this team in drives to the basket, shots inside the paint, as we take a look inside at Marcus Lee. And the turnover. And that's going to be hard to replace, PJ. Who's going to be the one forcing the issue on offense against the opposing defense?
Well, George Hill is here. I think they're going to have to do it by committee. They're certainly going to feature Kevin Love a lot more. J.R. Smith, never one to be hesitant, but I think it's going to be a lot more Kevin. Reading some of Tyronn Lue's quotes already. Not that he won't be shooting threes, but they're going to be posting them up a lot, which Kevin Love does very, very well. People kind of forget about it. When he was the main cog in Minnesota, he had no trouble putting up the points and the rebounds. I think we're going to see that in the future. But, I mean, when you play with somebody who controlled the game as much as LeBron did, it's certainly going to be a new look for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
So Alex Poitras at the line. He got fouled by Marcus Lee. He's 24 years old. Went to Fort Wayne, ended up with a 10-day contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. Ended up with Indiana. Was actually released, but he's still on the team trying to find a spot back into the league, back with the Pacers as we see a hustle. An out-of-bounds play by Ben Moore.
Yeah, they need a little help bringing it up. Colin Sexton's down the other end of the floor, and you see Jetty Osman calling him back saying, hey, come on back here, little guy, we need your help.
Almost stripped, and we see a foul, and a foul is going to go against the Cavs.
It goes against Jetty Osman. I'm surprised. Loose ball, he knocked Edmund Sumner down. We were bragging on Trevon Blewett in the earlier game. Again, Edmund Sumner, another player out of Xavier, played for Chris Mack, who is obviously now in Louisville, but did such an exceptional job for Xavier. And the Xavier players get after it. J.P. McCure is also here in Summer League and playing very well.
As we take a look at part of the Indiana Bruins, the Pacers. So many UCLA players, 4 of them in the roster if you include Ike Agunobi, as Sexton gets blocked quickly by Holiday. That is part of the Holiday trademark, right? Decent to good to great defense.
Absolutely. Aggressive defense. They don't back down from anybody. I had Aaron Holiday a lot this year on our network playing in the Pac-12 conference. And he, normally big-time scorers in college maybe don't work as hard on the other end of the floor. Aaron Holiday certainly does.
Right down the middle with it. Offensive foul.
Good job stepping in. Alize Johnson right there.
Well, if it's a finals,
Boy, I'll tell you what,
if it's the finals, we would have reviewed that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly. There was a little bit more movement than I thought I saw.
Just because he was right outside of the circle, right?
Exactly.
Cedi Osman is grabbed and fouled. He's fouled by Sumner. Sumner, of course, tore an ACL, had some other injuries. He's slowly getting back into form. Before those injuries, he played about 21 games for Chris at Xavier, and he was just the dominant athlete for Xavier.
Without question, and that was a very balanced team. That's the way they play there. But again, Xavier players, what they're noted for are complete games, doing a little bit of everything. You don't normally have somebody putting up huge numbers. They share the ball very, very well, and without question, it's demanded that they play defense. I should correct myself. That was Marcus Lee that drew that charge the last time. Marcus Lee out of California, Berkeley.
Yeah, he started with Kentucky and switched out and back to Northern California, where he's from. A step aside 3, but no good.
I like those two playing against each other, Alvaro. If we see Holiday against Colin Sexton, it'll be good. Cedi Osman, again, you should, when you're a player who's already had a year in the league, you should stand out in this league, and Cedi Osman has been doing that.
He got to start a few games last season for Cleveland.
But he's been impressive here. He had 15 points, 10 boards, and 4 steals in the first game. This is a pretty good handle. There's the spin and the finish inside with the left hand. Young man from Turkey.
A double and a foul. We see the matchup between Holiday and Sexton face to face.
They're going to go at each other. There's no question. They're not even pretending about it. Want to show who is. You got the number 8, Colin Sexton, first-round draft pick, and number 23, Aaron Holiday. You better believe Aaron Holiday is aware of that, and he wants to show that he could have been drafted even higher.
He led the Pac-12 in terms of points scored, and no one had done that with a UCLA uniform since some guy named Reggie Miller in 86-87.
That's pretty good.
Trouble as Sumner will go to the floor to fight for the ball.
James Posey, the Summer League head coach, a very talented player in his own right, an excellent defender, talking to Cedi Osman. I think what he's telling him is, you're standing still dribbling the ball too much, particularly against a good defender. Edmund Sumner's not going to back down. We got to move the ball more. Less bouncing, more passing.
he played for 12 years in the NBA, and he's got 2 championships. But he's a rare guy that has a championship from direct rivals at the time. One from Boston, one from Miami.
These guys usually don't even talk to each other. Tough shot clock on his back. No choice for John Holland but to throw that up. John Holland was a two-way player for the Cavs last year, spent most of the year playing for Canton in the G League, but also 24 games with the big team.
He's 29 years old, trying to get a chance with the NBA. He started all 3 games for the Cavs, summer Cavs. That was just an errant pass.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Again, this is guys getting to know each other. Aaron Holiday thought Alex Poitras was going to go to the rim. He did not. You got to make sure. This is part of that process of getting to know each other. So difficult in summer league. Guys get together, oftentimes don't even know each other at all before they start. Usually have 3 days of practice, and then you're playing games, and you're playing against more talented players in one place than you've probably played at your entire career.
Sexton in traffic, and he does the circus act for the score. Poitras with his left hand, and it's good. Talking about new faces, how about Alize Johnson, selected in the 2nd round by the Pacers. He's in the game right now as you see the dunk by Lee.
Lee's a good one, yeah. Alize Johnson, tough, aggressive player, maybe a tiny bit undersized. They list him at 6'9", I'm not sure about that.
You could always say he fell through the cracks, but not anymore.
That's what he does, he gets after it.
Inside, Osman with a nice feed by Sexton.
Sexton pushes it, Osman runs the floor and is rewarded.
Johnson draws a foul.
Wow.
It is an 8-8 game in the first.
Welcome back to the Cox Pavilion. George Sedano with you here as we are continuing with the Cavs and the Pacers. Wanted to discuss Aaron Holiday. Again, a family tradition playing basketball. You look at the brothers, Drew and Justin, who play for the Pelicans and the Chicago Bulls. And then, of course, parents played basketball. Even sister Lauren plays for UCLA at the moment, and sister-in-law Lauren plays for the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team. So let's just say that athleticism is in the family genes.
George Sedano, and let's not forget, maybe the most important holiday of them all. How about Toya Decree Holiday? She played college basketball at Arizona State, and she was the Pac-10 Player of the Year in 1982. Let's not forget.
Big-time player, no question. And talking, wasn't Pac-10 then, Pac-12 now, Marcus Lee from California. Alize Johnson and Marcus Lee going at each other, the two 24s.
Is it going to be Pac-14 tomorrow?
No, I think they're good at 12.
Johnson gets compared a lot to Jimmy Butler in terms of kind of coming out of nowhere, not being seen. Of course, Jimmy had the advantage of playing at Marquette, but I don't know how similar their styles are on the court.
Well, they get after it. I'll tell you one thing, how competitive they are and how strong they are in comparison. But Jimmy came into the league as a defender. People that, forget, and he just all of a sudden got better and better each year offensively.
Nice read by Holiday. He gets the ball in to leave the mismatch, and Sexton commits the foul.
Very good read. Now, those two know each other. Aaron had a little trouble hooking up earlier in the game with Alex Poitras, but he and TJ Leaf should certainly be on the same page the time they've spent playing together.
The newest Cav, Billy Preston, just got himself a two-way contract. He's in the game, joined by Dakota Mathias, shooting guard from Purdue.
Yeah, Billy never got a chance to play at Kansas. They've signed him already to a two-way contract.
If you didn't have a two-way contract, how difficult would it be for Billy Preston to come into the league?
Well, now he's got to make one of the 15 teams. I mean, he was a high school All-American, McDonald's All-American, never played. There were a lot of questions concerning the eligibility, and then finally they just decided to move on for both sides, both Billy and Kansas. He ended up playing a few games in Bosnia, basically a year when, other than his practice time, didn't get anything done. But Alvaro, to get back to your question, when it was only a few years ago, there were only 14 spots in the roster. Now it's 15 plus the 2 two-way contracts is Jetty Osmond with a really good move and accepted the contact and then finished inside. 6 points early for Jetty Osmond.
Attacking the rim. As you see Johnson grab him and slow him down.
Yeah, but to get back to what you were saying, now with the two-way contracts, not only can you can go back and forth, you get up to 45 days with the big team. It's 17 roster spots, and it's the league now taking much more advantage of their G League teams. We're within 2, I think, now of every team in the league almost having their own G League team. Players going back and forth, and particularly where the geography makes sense, Cleveland and Canton, not that far. Guys can go back and forth. You know, even daily, there's an injury, you call them up, somebody comes and they're playing that day. So I think the two-way contracts were a great idea, and the G League gets better and better and more important each year for the various franchises.
Nice putback by TJ Leaf, who had a kind of a tough opening game. Then he had a really solid second game. As a matter of fact, Coach Steve Gansey immediately set up a play for him. You see a block from behind, a tough block by Levi Randolph. And Leaf really responded. The other interesting item about the two-way contracts, the way they work, each team can have up to 2. You can simply waive a player and get another in for a two-way contract. That player can only be with the top team 45 days, and in some cases, not games, days.
Days, exactly.
So a practice day, even a travel day may count, so teams are very judicious as Sexton loses the handle. And here comes Johnson. And the foul.
Good layoff by Aaron Holiday. Better finish, catch and finish by Alize Johnson. Ball's knocked loose. Wait. This lesson right there, Aaron Holiday. Hold on to the ball until the big is right there. You don't want to give a big the ball 15 feet away from the basket when you can give it to him 5 feet and it's an easier finish.
He also bumped into him a little bit. A little nice, little subtle screen as Osman grabs the rebound. Going back to these players. The other effect, you have 2 per team. That's 60 new spots in the NBA that are available for these guys to play, and it supplements their income. It makes them not go overseas, as we see Leaf block the shot. We're going to take a little break. The Pacers, in a tough game against the Cavaliers, lead by 1. 3 to go in the first. You know, when it's really, really warm in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, you play a little golf. But if your legs are long, whether you're a human or not, you tend to stick and get close to water. As we take a look at our storylines, 10 games each day, 30 games so far on ESPN networks on an NBA TV. Malik Monk, Marvin Bagley, and Trae Young, all with injuries. And Furkan Korkmaz with 40 points against Boston to open up. That is the 5th most points in a summer league game in history. Anthony Morrow in 2009 scored 47 against the New Orleans Hornets.
Tell you what, they shot it like Travis Leslie just did, knocking that from downtown, but he's been amazing. 7-0 run for the Pacers.
Sexton with a tough shot. Vladimir Brodzianski also on the court for Cleveland. Osman, the only Cavalier to play the entire first quarter so far. Preston with a nice move and he gets fouled.
Well, Billy Preston, clearly a skilled player, and you'll see that because he plays with an awful lot of confidence. This is a great format for him.
And that's without shooters around.
No, exactly, but he gets a chance to, they're resting their 2 players. Jetty Osmond played the first game. He flew 14 hours, flew from Istanbul to LA, then he had to fly in here, practiced and played the first game. So obviously they rested him in game 2. Now they're doing the same thing with Ante Zizic. Played very well, 16 points, 14 boards, 5 assists. He had 2 really good games. They're going to rest him today.
Number 5 ended summer. Number 23, CJ Wilcox.
Bailey played on Friday against Washington, 19 minutes, 9 points, 4 boards, easing his way in, did not play on Saturday.
2 minutes remaining in the period. 2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Tough shot.
Yeah, moving sideways. That's
What a shot, what a pass. What a pass by Jordan Stevens.
really good look and a good catch and finish by Vladimir.
Jordan last played for Midwestern State 2 years ago. After playing a couple years in community colleges, switched over to Duquesne and ended up switching to Division II Midwestern State. Getting back into basketball. Johnson, corner three. Oh boy.
Really good ball movement, the extra pass. They got the ball to the weak side of the floor. It started with a pass from the big, finished in the corner with Alize Johnson.
Alize with now 7 points. Deadly if you start to come in. Leslie up front. And the final putback by Sumner.
Basketball right there. Good pass and way to stay with it by Edmund Sumner.
Stephen making his Summer League debut. Loses the handle again. Sumner gets screened. He may have tried to outsmart himself a bit.
He certainly did.
What a move by Preston. He sensed that Sumner was going to go from the strip from behind. He timed it right. Turn on the Jets.
Billy Preston with an awful lot of skills to go with the 6'10 frame.
Edmund Sumner on the drive.
Sumner with the score. It's a 6-point Pacer lead. Remember, at the end of this quarter, we will have President of Basketball Operations for the Indiana Pacers, Kevin Pritchard, join us. Can't call it the hot seat. After Henry Ellison was here, it's more like the wet seat. Matthias with a shot from the corner.
Dakota Matthias was an excellent shooter, 42% for his career, playing for Matt Painter at Purdue.
And that is the end of one. Very exciting first quarter. The Pacers lead the Cavaliers by 3. Don't forget, Kevin Pritchard will be joining us, the president of basketball ops for the Indiana Pacers. It's become a summer tradition for Chris Paul to hang out in Vegas. Remember last year he was here with the other bearded one, James Harden. Everywhere one went, the other also joined. And speaking of join, we're joined by Kevin Pritchard, president of basketball ops for the Indiana Pacers, the best dressed man in Vegas, hands down.
And the hottest for sure.
Yes.
I don't know why. I've got to do a couple speaking engagements. I thought I better put up on a jacket, but I'd rather be in what you guys are wearing. I can tell you that.
We'll trade.
Okay, deal.
Congratulations. I know that you wanted to go further last postseason, but nonetheless, a tremendous showing by the team. What's your evaluation of the team at the end of last year?
Well, I played in the NBA for a few years, coached, and then have been in management for this 26 years. For me, it was the funnest team I've ever been around. They worked hard, and probably more than anything, I felt like they all made sacrifice. One of the biggest things, you go into a season and you have a team willing to make sacrifices. They had a little chip on their shoulder, but everybody put their egos aside and they really competed.
48 wins, unbelievable, and then took Cleveland, as you well know. I don't need to remind you, Pritch. Game 7 certainly could have gone either way. You guys could have won that series very easily. Just a tremendous job.
It was a great series. If you didn't care who won the series, it was a great series. Unfortunately, we cared who won.
A little bit, yes.
So, but it was a fun team.
Talk about Victor Oladipo, because a lot of the moves you guys have made, and you and Chad Buchanan, but it hurts me to give you credit, but I have to.
You never give me credit, BJ.
No, you've done so well. Victor, did you imagine he could explode like that in 1 year, first season?
And not first year. I thought he had an opportunity to really expand his role. We had talked to him right after we did the trade. We had flown together, and we spent like 4 hours on a flight, and I got to know him, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is hungry. Like, he's really hungry. And I knew we had a chance to overachieve, and I knew he had a chance to have a good year. But to be an all-star, most improved, no one could have predicted that. But we had high expectations for him and for Sabonis. So
Well, I was just going to say, I don't want to forget about DeMontis. His father, Arvidas, who I had the privilege of coaching.
one of the best centers ever.
He'll come after me if we don't talk about DeMontis also.
Well, when we were going through that process of the trade, we had all the things up on the board, and it was tough. It was really challenging because, Paul wanted to go to L.A. At that point in time, he really wanted, and every team knew that, so it was a rental. Now, Sam Presti did a hell of a job. He got him to stay, and kudos to him. But for us, the trade board wasn't as thick as I thought it would be. And once Sam and I had a few conversations, and he said, I'll do Sabonis also, I looked around the room, I said, how in the world can we not do this? How can't we? We've got two guys who all along we had higher ranked in our draft, in our rankings of players in NBA. And I said, why don't we give this one a chance? And for me, it was like, how can we not do it?
Yeah, I was a big fan. I happened to see Gonzaga. Mark Few's a good buddy. We do a lot of games out in the West Coast Conference, and I saw them a lot. He knows how to play basketball.
Oh, yeah.
You can't teach that. Those kind of instincts you can't teach.
Where he was a lot better than we thought is he's a real playmaker. Like, he can go DHO and dribble handoff, and, he really sees the floor, and he understands angles, and we use him as a pick and pop and make your decisions. And, he's got a little of his dad. His dad was maybe one of the best centers ever to play before he.
And certainly one of the best passing centers ever.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. So he gets a little of that from him.
One of the most fun teams. Team with great chemistry. Great team that really, I don't want to use the word overachieved, but certainly surprised a lot of people around the NBA, maybe none in Indiana. How do you improve on that?
I think some in Indiana, too.
But how do you improve on that?
Well, I think one of the big things for us was great dunk by Henry Sims, by the way.
Thank you.
I think the big thing for us was we wanted to keep our top 7 in terms of minutes played. And then my goal as we went into the offseason was to add the best shooter we could and the best playmaker. And with Tyreek, Tyreek is a legitimate big guard. And for me, what's really working in the league right now is big ball handlers that can get to the paint and make plays for themselves and for other people. And now we have 2. Right. We haven't had that in a couple of years. We needed another ball handler, creator, and he is no joke to guard. He's a tough. And then with Doug,
Doug McDermott, our viewers, Tyreek Evans, Doug McDermott coming on board, Kyle O'Quinn. You didn't rest on your laurels. You've given Nate McMillan more to work with.
Yeah, that was our goal. And for me, everybody says, well, my job is to really look at the long-term plan. We wanted to get better this summer. When we did all our trades last summer, Herb Simon, I give him a ton of credit. He said, listen, I don't want to bottom out. I don't want to tank. That's not what we do in Indiana. We do whatever we can to put the best team for the fans and for the community. And so he did that. And then after this season, he said, great job. How do we improve that? So we felt like with having some free agent money and having some cap space, we could get better. And what's best is if we like this team in the future years, I've got potentially $57 million next summer. Maybe we attract to some of the big players. I don't know. I don't know if Indiana can, but if we keep winning and get better, and have great cultures and enjoy playing with each other, you got a chance.
Well, Kevin talking about Herb Simon, the great owner. That family has
really
been
is.
So good. And you want, as a coach or as a general manager, you want that kind of support.
Without a
from
doubt.
ownership.
Yeah.
Winning is 80% of culture, but a team like Indiana,
talent's pretty good too.
Yeah. How do you who's setting the tone culture-wise at all levels within the Indiana?
Well, I think it starts with Herb and how he wants to be a family business. But then next, Nate and our coaches. Nate does a great job of saying, listen, I'm going to be the most unselfish person. And so I expect that from everybody else. And Nate is so tough and hard-nosed and grinds it out every single day. Like, I worry about Nate that he goes too hard, and I want him to enjoy, but he really sets the tone. And then it really comes from our leadership of our players. Victor's the most positive guy I've ever been around. We lost 5 games in a row last year. And I remember coming to our gym, it was like 8:30. He was the first one. He's getting his work in. And I go, man, are we, I'm a little panicked. I'm like, what are we doing? Are we okay? And he's just like, we're going to come in. We're going to work. I promise you we're going to be all right. And for the first time in the season, and this was in, I think, December, early January, I was like, I think I trust this team. Because sometimes you're watching the games, and once you put the team in place, I lose control. You know, my control is done. I've done what I can do to help our coaches, help our players. But it was the first time of the year I was like, we're going to have a good year.
I think Aaron Holiday's talent is pretty obvious, but tell us quickly about Alize Johnson.
You know, he's really a unique talent in that wherever the ball is, he's going to find it. Like, if he missed that shot, but he was right there. He'll be right there. I mean, no matter where the ball is, he finds it. It's, you know, you want to say some of these great rebounders in the league, but he's not there yet. But I like his determination to find the ball. And you look at some of these great teams like Golden State. Jordan Bell comes off the bench for them and really makes an impact because he's all over the place. And we think with the 50th pick, it was a solid pick, and we'll see what he can do.
Aaron Holiday, of course.
Yeah, we're really we did not think he was going to be there 23. You know, like for me, we had our board. We had him in the top 12 of our board. We'd seen where there's a possibility, but we kept going back to our mock drafts, and now he's gone. He's gone. He's a lot like his brothers in that he's very determined, and I think his best skill is shooting. But after that, I think one of the things we like about, I think he can be really pesky in the back.
Oh no, he gets after it. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, as you well know, living out in the West Coast, I see him an awful lot.
Yeah.
We had him. He gets after people.
He has this knack for putting his hands near the ball without fouling.
Yes,
He hunts for the ball without fouling.
He's got to learn. Like the one thing that we've seen out here already is the pick and roll when guys go real big. He doesn't see all those arms because it's the NBA pick and roll defense is a little different than college.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us.
See you, Pritch. Thanks, man. Well done.
Your team is down 1 against the Cavs in the middle of the second quarter.
Thank you.
Summer League action continues tonight in Las Vegas on NBA TV and the ESPN app. Washington, Philadelphia at 5:30 Eastern, followed by Golden State, Dallas at 7:30 Eastern, and Orlando, Phoenix, and Clippers and Houston. All games streaming also on the ESPN app. Wonderful interview with Kevin Pritchard, old friend of yours.
Yes, he is. Good buddy for a lot of years. I remember Pritch first as a player and then worked his way up in the NBA. What a job he's done. The additions last year, the additions this year. Nate McMillan. Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of his and Chad Buchanan's decisions have worked out very well these last few years.
Funny, though, how chemistry works as we see Popeye
There's
Jones
Nate
on
with
the right.
Popeye and Danny Burke.
Yeah.
Nate's staff, or a chunk of Nate's staff, not his entire staff right there. Billy Bano somewhere lurking, probably to the left of Popeye, but as with all the teams in the league, all the coaches here, just about everybody that has anything to do with the NBA is here, including Marcus Lee, who is trying to impress Tyronn Lue and his group.
The ball was kicked by Carl White. As we take a look at the Pacers roster, you would think, well, this roster is pretty set, and in many ways it is. Think about it. They brought in Kyle O'Quinn, Doug McDermott, and of course Tyreek Evans.
Yeah, great additions. Al Jefferson no longer be with them. Joe Young, but Ike Anigbogu is here. He's not playing. He had surgery after the year was out. I'll tell you what, it's a good problem to have as a head coach, but they have some significant talent. Working out a rotation, it's going to take them a little while to figure that out. And there's no question Victor Oladipo will be the driving force, but serious additions to the staff. I don't know if we can count that right there. Ben Moore banked it in from the free throw line.
You know, and Kyle O'Quinn, speaking of culture, will fit right in as he has in every team he's been to.
Kyle O'Quinn is a good piece. They got him in a one-year contract, I think 4.5. Interesting game. You got Indiana can't throw it in the ocean. They're shooting 38% from the field and 20 from three, and Cleveland shooting over 50 from both, but Cleveland's got 8 turnovers. So that's kept the game a lot closer than you would think if you look at the stat sheet.
And rather than lose possession, Colin Sexton will call a timeout. And so James Posey will gather the troops. They lead the Pacers by 2. The Cavaliers lead by 2 as power forward Larry Nance Jr. is in the house signing autographs, enjoying himself, watching potential future mates play in the Summer League, posing for selfies. Never enough of those.
play out of the timeout. Got Jetty Osman a 3. Aaron with a little bit too much air under that one, even to his former teammate TJ Leaf.
Now, you mentioned the fact that the Cavaliers, Indiana was having trouble. How about the Cavaliers making 2 of only 4 3-pointers? You see a block
struggling to shoot, but as long as the Pacers keep turning the ball over.
Inside the Leaf. And the putback by Portis.
Alex got his hand up. We saw it, Alex. We know it was you.
He's got 5 points. Now, you know how they say that players need to figure out the NBA when they go up a level, and they need to see the game slow down. Has the game ever slowed down for Colin Sexton?
No. Colin Sexton plays at a real high level, but he's comfortable playing at that level. But it is funny. Oh, nice move by TJ Leaf. Got inside and then got it high off the glass over the defender. But that's the comment you hear, Alvaro, so much from young guys, even in summer league, before they even get into the big league, how much quicker the game is. But only the best players obviously are going to play in the NBA, but even here in summer league and the G League, the elite players, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're quicker, and the game is played at a higher tempo. And for a lot of players, that's an adjustment. Colin Sexton already played at a really high speed. So, I mean, for him, it's going to be, I just think, the decision-making. He's going to be real comfortable going up and down the floor. We talked about how fortunate he was to have played for Avery Johnson at Alabama. So he played in a system that put him in a lot of pick and rolls, had him going up and down the floor. And, of course, Avery shared a lot of his basketball wisdom with him, even in just 1 year.
And I don't want to make easy comparisons here, but you wonder if a situation could be developing in Cleveland similar to Utah's last year, where they lose talent, they bring in Ricky Rubio as a veteran point guard, and they bring Donovan Mitchell as a combo guard, and it turned out that Donovan became the guy that made things happen on offense for the team by and large.
Well, he just exploded on the scene. If you watched him here last year, you had to be super impressed. But what we all say was, hey, this is summer league. I mean, you're thrilled if you're Utah, if you're Quinn Snyder, Dennis Lindsey. You knew, hey, we got somebody we knew was going to be good. But still, to think that he's going to translate what he did here in Las Vegas into the NBA, and Donovan Mitchell more than did that. He was spectacular.
He scored 37 points last year against Memphis on July 11th. Now, again, you've got George Hill in Cleveland, who can handle the point and take some pressure off Colin if need be, and allow Colin to cut and do things without the ball that he can be very good at.
Well, I think he can do it, and George can also play without the ball, which is good. Obviously, playing with LeBron James, he played without the ball a lot, but George's a good shooter, and he's comfortable playing without the ball.
Open court, and Osman just sees it as an invite, but he cannot finish. Leaf off the miss, went right for the rebound and commits the foul. Summer League action continues tonight in Las Vegas on ESPN2, ESPNU, and always the ESPN app. On ESPN2 tonight, Charlotte will face Boston at 7 Eastern. And then on ESPNU, Milwaukee faces Denver and Brooklyn faces Minnesota at 9 and 11 Eastern.
All those games happen to be played right here in Cox Pavilion. Next door, 5 other games going on. This is, as we're winding up what's really the first round. 3 games, everybody gets 3 games, and as you mentioned, Alvaro, they reseed and they play a true tournament. But even if you lose that first game in the 30-team bracket, you're guaranteed at least 5 games here in Las Vegas.
I remember 2 years ago, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Summer Wolves, lost every game in the opening round, 0 for 3, right? They made the finals against Chicago.
In the last 2 years, the team that ended up actually winning the tournament lost their opening game here in Summer League. Got off to a bad start and then ran the table after that. Los Angeles Lakers it was last year, we all remember. Lonzo Ball struggled a little bit. Played a good floor game, but struggled a little bit, especially with the shooting and some turnovers in game 1. And from that point on, the Lakers really played extremely well. He and Kuzma just set the table. Kyle Kuzma went out and just backed it up with an excellent year.
Okaro White.
As we take a look at Okaro White, began his NBA career with the Miami Heat, ended up being traded to Atlanta, waived, found a spot in Cleveland. This is one of two courts, of course, Washington and Philly just get underway at the Thomas and Mack Center next door. So 5 games at each facility, joined by a footbridge. All of it, by the way, air conditioned.
Very nice. Thankfully for us.
You buy your ticket, you can see any of these 10 games. If you like this game, but you want to watch the rookie and the other one, you just move over for a while and then come back to this game if you want to see a little push on Cedi Osman. And that's the beauty of this format in this tournament.
You're a basketball junkie, and especially if you're an NBA basketball junkie, you're in the right place. You get to see all the players, a number of the talented first and second year players that, again, some of the players, Jason Tatum not playing. Some guys had a great year, played deep into the playoffs, and maybe they felt they didn't need it. A lot of other guys, they come here to get a little more seasoning, they get to use them in a different role, sometimes even play a different position. So different teams have different objectives coming in here to Las Vegas, and you see that. Some of them don't even have a draft pick. Some of them, the whole focus is their draft pick. So,
and if you're a fan, PJ, forget about the X's and O's in the basketball, which is the reason why you come over here. If you're just a fan of the game, you're going to be walking the hallways, you're going to bump into Chris Paul. You're going to see Kevin Pritchard.
You're going to see everybody. That has Adam Silver yesterday, everybody that has anything to do with the NBA, be it front office, be it the league office, be it coaches, players, G League officials, basketball officials themselves. Some of the best officials in the league are here observing these young referees. So anybody with anything to do with the NBA, there's meetings coming up. Got a lot of the important committees meetings, summer meetings, now the league meetings held in the summer. Mike Breen is even gracing us with his presence, attending a league committee meeting. He'll be in town for 2 days.
And finally, you just saw Larry Nance sign autographs and take selfies. The mood. The mood is the final aspect of summer in Vegas that you have to be here to kind of grasp.
Well, it's so much more relaxed. Exactly right. Everybody's relaxed. And, guys are walking in and out. There's Ty Lue watching his team. Lou might not be as relaxed as anybody else, although the good news, I know that a lot of people concerned, Ty feeling very well right now. Very comfortable, looking forward, but you talk about a rebuild, that's pretty much the definition of a rebuild. A couple of really good pieces to start with Kevin Love, but certainly a challenge after the 4 years that Cleveland has had.
The only issue may be here in the Cox Pavilion, which is the smaller of the two arenas. You may just have a big draw like the Knicks game last night at 6. And it got to the point where basically too many people, they have to basically close access to the Cox Pavilion.
Yeah, but I love it here. I like the atmosphere here, particularly for the earlier games like we're doing right now. Earlier in the day, it's still close to being filled up. Cedi Osman again and Colin Sexton. 9 points.
But that's a second possession in a row where Sexton feels how they on him, favors the contact, waits, is patient, and then creates something.
Well, he's strong enough to do that, and he's got his head up. He sees the floor. Cedi Osman knows what to do, move without the ball.
Holiday squares up. Intercepted by Ben Moore. Takes it all the way.
Ben Moore with the steal in the lane for Indiana.
Pressure from Indiana. We've seen that.
Now, Carl White with the careless pass there, just threw a soft lob pass. Ben Moore saw that one coming.
9th turnover for the Cavs.
Cavs shooting the ball so well, but they can't help themselves, turning it over way too much. 51% from the field they're shooting, but Cedi Osman, the percentage goes up. 12 first half points for Cedi.
Five seconds for the end of the half. And that is it. It's a close game. The Cavaliers lead the Pacers by 5, 47-42. And Colin Sexton is doing everything.
Yes, he is. Here's assist number 3. Gets in. It's the defender on his back and finds Cedi Osman going to the rim. Impressive start for the young man.
8 points, 3 assists for the number 8 overall pick in this last NBA draft.
Marcus Lee.
He's got, they're building on a 7-point lead, which is the largest in the game for Cleveland. Now, you notice that the last, from sometime in the middle of the second quarter on, he's been slowing down. And that patience is rewarding him and the Cavs as we see that tough pass inside and a foul. Fouls on White.
Good look.
Cleveland foul number 9 at Carl White.
Ben Moore telling Aaron Holiday, my bad, I should have had that. It was a good layoff pass. He just shot it with his left hand. Instead of it being an and one, he's got the 2 free throws, but he should have finished that.
Moore has started all 3 games for the Pacers, averaging about 5 points. Played with Indiana in the summer league last year as well. Ended up getting that 2-way contract. Looking for something like that.
Exactly.
It's going to be tougher this year, though.
Well, for certain. Chad Buchanan and Kevin Pritchard, the general manager and president of basketball ops, respectively, for the Pacers, did not sit still. Have made an already impressive roster even tougher. I was talking during halftime with Nate McMillan, Popeye Jones, Dan Burke, his staff sitting there. They're enjoying watching these guys.
Sexton with a second to shoot. He scores over Holiday.
Tough shot.
13 points for him.
31, Ed. 31, Ed.
Now Holiday with a crossover and the 3. Mano a mano.
Yeah, these two are going at each other. There's no question about it. And well, they should. You're talking 2 of the best players coming out of college, 2 high first rounders, and 2 people who believe they're ready to get playing time right now.
But not to spoil the fun we're having right now watching them go head to head. Is that still within the team concept?
Yeah, I think they're fine. He made the shot. You miss the shot, and then he takes another one. You second guess. You give him. See now, did that shot go in?
Yes,
there we go.
It does.
You can back it up. You let him go. No question. Particularly summer league. You don't have an offense in. It's really more about individuals showing what they're capable of doing. These 2 enjoying it right now.
Aaron with 11, and here comes Sexton with a long 3. Matthias, he's got 1. He's 1 for 2.
Dakota Mathias, a great 3-point shooter. We talked about that, how well he played for Matt Painter at Purdue, and he made 42% of his 3-point shots in college, and that was on 597 threes. It wasn't somebody that shot it a little bit. He shot a ton of threes and shot it really well. Aaron Holiday that time going to the rim. We had one of the few. Dakota Mathias shot it so quickly. When you get an offensive rebound off the glass, in Summer League, you've only got 14 seconds on the clock. It doesn't reset to 24, whether it's a missed field goal or a missed free throw attempt. We haven't seen it an awful lot, but I think it's a rule that we may see in the future in the NBA.
Dakota comes from a small town in northwestern Ohio called Elida. Population maybe 2,000, not even. 2-time All Big Ten defensive team.
Tough defender, excellent 3-point shooter. Really, really good player. 4 years for Coach Matt Painter.
Osman with a move. Oh, yes.
But Jetty's done a good job putting the ball on the floor, Alvaro. He's beating his man off the dribble repeatedly.
14 points for Jetty Osman. Now, the confidence was always there. There's more space now. What is it, just a green light?
Well, they've asked him to be more aggressive. First game he had 15 points and 10 boards, 4 steals, 3 assists. I mean, he shows what he's capable of doing. Ben Moore doing the same thing for the Pacers. But, these are the things that coaches talk to their players, particularly guys who've been in the league. He played well. He had some good minutes this year for the Cavs. He was very close with LeBron. They said, look, show us the things you can do. As he clangs that 3 right there. But they want to find out. And this is the time you find out in Summer League.
Sumner with a couple of crossovers and an up and under. Take it all the way through. Lee gets blocked by Leaf. That was a shove.
That was an offensive foul.
Yeah.
Aaron Holiday, I think, got away with. On the other end, Colin Sexton made a good pass, laid it off to Marcus Lee. TJ Leaf was having none of it and knocked it down. Then when Holiday went the other way, he and Sexton kind of hooked up there and might have used his offhand to create a little bit of space.
BJ, just so folks at home can understand, how many practices have these summer Pacers and summer Cavaliers have had before showing up here?
Usually it's 3 days of practice in your own city. Sometimes you'll bring them in here. I think most of these teams practice 3 days in their own practice facility. Then they bring them in here, and usually they play back-to-back. You play 2 games in the first 3 days, so that off day you might get a third practice in, but it's going to be a short one. Not much done, so it's really challenging. I'd say there might have been a double session back home, but max 5 practices. I mean, you got guys still learning their teammates' names, much less the offense and the defensive rotation.
And do they give the coaches the freedom to come up with their own set of plays, or do they have to follow the kind of the team blueprint, the team playbook?
That would vary from team to team. I think most coaches probably just tell their summer league coach, look, do what you want, but they'll give them some guidelines. They'll say something like, look, we're here. We're going to feature Jetty Osman, or we're going to feature Aaron Holiday, and then the coach gets a chance to run with that himself.
We finally see Bryce Alford on the court, and Larry Nance sitting right next to Kobe Altman. He'll be coming up. Way through the third quarter, the Holiday Sexton party keeps going on. It's now the Pacers leading the Cavaliers by 1. As we're joined by Larry Nance Jr., of course, of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tremendous year for you. A whirlwind of a year.
It was a big year.
I mean, when you started the year with the Lakers, did you think, I'm going to end up playing the finals? I'm going to end up playing the finals back in my hometown.
I mean, that was the hope. That was the hope with the Lakers, but the way it ended up and the way it turned out, I couldn't have dreamed a better scenario. Getting to play back home where my dad played, and even getting to take his jersey number and don the 22 for the Cavs was, just storybook.
Not that we were expecting anything different, but as we take a look at what happened this past year, 50 wins, 4th straight final, of course a sweep against Golden State, and you were one of those 4 new players that acquired. I was looking at that finals. When he walked in, Cleveland didn't miss a beat. I didn't expect any less. But it was really wonderful to see someone coming in halfway through a season, step into that role at that stage, and the team really felt they could rely on you. Did you feel that way?
I did, and I appreciate my coaches and teammates feeling that way about it too. Whenever I come in, I just try to be a spark plug and bring the energy, bring some excitement, and change the pace of the game.
How different 2 conferences? I know you only got kind of a short taste of either one, but playing the majority of your games, first in the Western Conference, then in the Eastern Conference, was a little different.
It was a little bit. I only got about 20 so games in the Eastern Conference at this point. So, you always hear the West is so much. The West is this compared to the East, and for the most part, it's the same. Everybody's NBA players. We're in the NBA for a reason. So, there's no nights off. There's no whether it's the best team in the East or the worst team in the East. There's no nights off.
Your numbers remarkably similar, right there, virtually the same. And the minutes were pretty close also. How big a jump? Tell our viewers how difficult is it to be a young player playing in the summer league and then have to take that. You go usually from college or international ball,
right? Shortstop
here and then boom, it's the real deal. How big a jump and how challenging?
It's very challenging, because this is this is an intermediate level compared to the NBA, and so you get out there and most of the time in college or if you got invited to this summer league, you're used to being either the most athletic, the best shooter, you're being the best on the court at all times in something. And you step onto the court in the NBA, and oftentimes that's not the case. So you got to carve out your niche a different way, and for me that was defensively.
You love the NBA, the fact that the sun rises and you don't know what's going to happen. You're the perfect example of
absolutely.
it. And no one necessarily could process what happened after LeBron James leaves, going back to your old team, to the Lakers. What's the mood now? I mean, you love being in Cleveland, period. Period. So what's the mood like? What's the thinking in terms of the sort of the post-LeBron, this new era, new Cavalier era?
It's excitement. You know, obviously you hate to lose the best player, the best player in the game, but at the same time, we have really promising young talent, out here on display. We've got Jetty Osman out there. Colin Sexton, is playing really well. We just signed Billy Preston to a two-way. Ante's sitting out now, but he's had a heck of a summer league to this point. And we also have some proven vets. I mean, Kevin Love is a perennial all-star. G. Hill's really good. Jordan Clarkson. Hopefully we can get to bring Rodney Hood back. We're really excited about what we have going forward, and I think we can shock a lot of people as to what we can do.
And you personally, what are your goals in terms of skill development this summer?
The biggest thing, I want to be more dynamic. Get a ball, grab a rebound. I average 7 rebounds a game. I want to be able to take 3 or 4 of those and bring it up the court myself and make decisions and make plays.
Another Al Horford.
Hey man, that's where the game's going. Al was an all-star this year, so no.
Kevin Durant, you get the board and you lead the break. One less pass,
I agree.
get it down even quicker.
Does that have to be negotiated with Ty Lue,
though?
No, I'm just gonna do it.
There you go. Yeah, Gilbert in the house also. We got again. We talked about everybody that's anybody in the NBA is here for these 2 weeks. It's a great time.
It is. The whole league is in one spot for a little bit. It's exciting.
How about your range? Are you working on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's I've been working on it since I got in the league. But in LA, I played a very carved out role, and I. I that's how I carved my niche in the NBA. Catching, finishing, and all that. But hopefully now with an expanded role in Cleveland, I can start working on the range and stretching out the court.
We're going to wrap it up at the next whistle. Give me a real quick. What was it like playing with perhaps the best player of all time?
Not perhaps.
There you go. That's the answer.
Not perhaps. No, it was awesome. I mean, growing up in Akron, Ohio, that's. What more could I ask for? Getting to play with LeBron in the NBA Finals. So, I'm super thankful for the front office for bringing me here and getting that chance to participate in the finals with the greatest.
So we're in Vegas. You hit 2 threes last season. How many this year?
I hit 2. How many did I take? Like 3?
Yeah,
just about.
Larry Nance.
50.
There you go.
50.
Thank you very, very much. It's a 5-point Cleveland lead. Good luck this season.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck with that 3.
Much
Good luck.
appreciated.
Roll.
Get this.
You feel me, AP? He in front of me, roll.
Number 24.
Yep. Yeah, AP.
Alex Pointer.
Watch it, TJ. Save it. I'm right here. I'm with you. Come here. I got ball. I'm here. That's on me. I got ball. Get it, T. I'm with you. Way to work, TJ. You good? Way to work. Oh. L1!
So it's not just handles, a great shot, speed, great defense. If you want to be a point guard, you need pipes.
Well, it's a plus. There are some that are quiet. It's unusual. Actually, his counterpart today, Colin Sexton, played for one of the most verbal point guards of all time,
Avery
Johnson.
Really?
But I like Aaron Holiday because he's talking on both ends of the floor. That little clip started with the play we described earlier. He thought Alex Poitras was going to go to the basket, and he didn't. And he told him, go next time. It wasn't just on the defensive end. We always talk about defensive communication. A point guard obviously has got to communicate on the offensive end. He's got to get his team in the sets. But sometimes it's a pick and roll, telling the guy to roll. Guy had a chance to save the ball. Tells him to save it because, you don't have eyes in the back of your head. You don't know if the opponent's waiting there. I applaud that. Aaron Holiday is a leader. He's very verbal, and I think it's going to suit him very well.
Low post move by Vladimir Wozniacki.
Wozniacki's looked good. He's made some nice moves. He made a nice catch on a lob pass in the first half. It's impressive.
from Slovakia, ended up at a community college in Kansas with a foster family. Ended up warming up to a 6'10" Slovakian in their midst. Sumner. Ooh. Against the world here.
Billy Preston's done some good things this afternoon. You can see why. First of all, he was such a great high school player and why he does have a future.
As Scoochie Smith interrupts the alley-oop.
Billy, I'm bragging on you. Show me something.
Starting way far against C.J. Wilcox.
Too much dribble.
Coming up next, it's the Hornets against the Celtics. Then over on ESPNU, it will be Bucks Nuggets and Nets Timberwolves. All games also streaming live on the ESPN app.
Actually going back, Alvaro, after the next game, I'm flying back to Seattle to watch my son play Little League. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be watching. The good thing about being home is you can change the channels. I don't want to get in trouble with our superiors at ESPN, but you can bounce back and forth. It's like being here and jumping from Cox to Thomas and Mack. You want to see the player you want to watch, see the team you want to watch.
Technology is something else. Preston against too much dribble.
No, that was all right. I thought that was a move that was needed. It was good. It was well defended. I thought Alize Johnson did a good job. Alize stayed in front of him.
7 to shoot until the end of the quarter. And that's a 3 by Edmund Sumner. Here comes Billy Preston, and he's short, and that is the end of 3. The Cavaliers lead the Pacers
At the end of 3 periods,
through 3 by 5.
Indiana 64.
What a way to finish. Edmund Sumner with the last word, a 3. And most efficient scorers for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Cedi Osman with 21, Colin Sexton with 15 on 13 shots, and Billy Preston's got 10, again on 9 shot attempts.
Interesting too, Alvaro, you look at it 3 different ways. Cedi Osman from Turkey played in the league for a year. Colin Sexton played in college, comes in as a one and done, and Billy Preston didn't play in college. Basically came out of high school, handful of games over in Bosnia. But if you can play, the NBA is going to find you.
Up and under, but in and out, unfortunately, for C.J. Wilcox, who at age 27 is trying to get back into the NBA.
C.J. Wilcox is a good player. He's shown enough, I think, in different spots. Sometimes it takes a team that needs your particular skill set, and you get a chance to play. Colin Sexton talking to Ante Zizic there on the bench. Ante's played a couple of real good games. 16 and 14 boards in his first game, also 5 assists, and backed that up with 25 and 11 boards in his second game. He's turned it over a little bit, but has played well. Again, they're asking him to be aggressive, to do more things, and that's why he's resting today.
Double-double machine 2012 as John Holland strips the ball. Scoochie Smith over to John, and he makes the bucket, rewarding the guy who made it all happen on the defensive end.
John Holland out of St. Benedict's Prep School in New Jersey, same high school as J.R. Smith.
Then went on to BU. Actually just played for Puerto Rico in one of those FIBA windows recently.
Good
nice
board,
putback.
man. Nice timing. Alize Johnson.
Turns out that John's grandmother, Margarita Jaime, was a long jumper many, many, many years ago. That's Diana's mom. That's John's mother. And she was born and raised on the island. That's why he gets to play internationally for Puerto Rico.
As you know, Alvaro coached many years in Puerto Rico back in the 70s and 80s, and loved it. And a lot of the players, Butch Lee comes to mind right away. A lot of the players whose parents or grandparents were born in Puerto Rico were able to play in the Superior League.
You know what's amazing is the quality of coaching, as we see a nice move by Sumner. and he makes a bucket at long two. The coach that went to the island to supplement their income. I mean, Tex Winter on down. Phil
That
Jackson
started many years ago. Yeah, Phil was coaching Kevin Adias when I was in Puerto Rico.
He was traded.
First got to know Phil. Exactly.
He was traded for a player as a coach. Phil Jackson was traded to the rival town and team.
Isabella, who they
Yes.
trade him to? Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Apparently, he and Ray Dalmau just didn't get along, and somehow he ends up in the town next over. You had both Brown brothers, Larry and Herb.
Exactly. Herb was coaching Isabella when I was there. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're not going to get along with a player, Ray Dalmau is not the one to pick. Raymond Dalmau and Neftali Rivera, two of the best players in the history of Puerto Rican basketball.
As Scucci will go to the line and makes the first. This WNBA season, your ticket supports organizations that are changing the game for women and girls. Go to WNBA.com/takeastand to purchase a ticket today. Looking to see Shinae Owamike play for the Connecticut Sun one of these weekends if the schedule allows.
And some of the Xavier guys have done very well. We talked about Edmund. I say that and threw it to his James Posey. Isn't James Posey out of Xavier?
Yes, he
if
is.
I'm not mistaken. I think he threw the pass to James Posey on the bench, but he's played very well. Edmund Sumner's looked good. J.P. McCure's looked very good. There's James Posey, Summer League coach, next to David Jones.
Who was the Summer League coach last year, made his debut last year as a Summer League coach, so now it's James' turn.
Yep.
A vicious pass by Smith, but Sims had it covered.
Good ball movement outside, but better interior defense by the Pacers. Nothing there.
Henry Sims has played for New Orleans, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and Brooklyn at times. He's also gone overseas. This past season he was in Italy with Cremona. Scucci blocked by Sims.
On key. He's close. I mean, again, there are so many players. It's that fragile a thing. Needs the opportunity, needs to be with the right team. He's not a smaller man, but he stays in the play, reaches across and blocks it.
Nice move. Nice quiet move by Vladimir Brodzianski.
I'll tell you what, I like Brodzianski. He looks nice. He played very well. Plays under control. Doesn't force anything. Lets the game come to him.
4 for 7. He's got 8 points. Alisei 1-on-1. Ooh. Rugged against Billy Preston.
Yeah, he got that little elbow and weak side arm in there. 14 points.
Quiet 14 points.
Yes, it is. Spaced it out well.
Nice move. Osman couldn't strip. A strip by Wilcox. Not necessarily known for his defense. A tremendous score via foul on Preston. And that's an element of C.J. Wilson that tends to go unnoticed because he's such a prolific scorer.
Cleveland foul number 20.
It's a good look, yeah. It's very educated elbow right there. Got home. Alizé Johnson was leading the break that time. He wanted to throw the ball to C.J. Wilcox on the left side. He probably waited one dribble too long.
Preston showing the tire marks across his chest. ISO for Johnson.
Good job by Billy. Moved his feet, stayed right in front of him, and then contested the shot.
Foul.
Indiana foul number 23, C.J. Wilcox.
C.J. Wilcox with the foul. So now it's a 14-second reset on offense.
Yep.
Do you like that rule?
I do. I want to see it a little bit more, but I like it. I'm usually more of a defense, person, so I say okay, but it's going to make for shorter possession. More offense. That's our league. That's what it's all about.
But it makes it tougher on offense, right?
Oh, without question.
Johnson, tremendous move. He put his head down to move Osman out of the way. He's got 16.
He did that. To get back to your question, Albert, it does, and you're punishing a team that just got an offensive rebound. I mean, you think you would reward a team that got an offensive rebound, and instead you're giving them 10 less seconds the next possession.
Another one of these Sexton-Holiday matchups. Hope we see them for 12 years. Here comes Holland against Johnson. Oh, boy. Oh, what a basket by John Holland. I don't know how he found the angle.
That is a 9.5 degree of difficulty.
Woo.
Oh, there's...
As we take a look at John with the strip and the score.
Oh, this is just some move right there. First of all, he knocks it loose, which was good. But look at this, right under, switch to the left hand, off the glass. Beautiful finish.
More NBA Summer League games from Vegas come tomorrow on ESPNU and ESPN2. It all starts at 4:30 Eastern on ESPNU with Jazz Heat. Then on ESPN2, it's Kings, Grizzlies, and Lakers, Knicks. All games also streaming live on the ESPN app. Alize Johnson taking a breather.
Well, he needs it. He's done an excellent job. He's filling up the stat sheet, not just the 16 points, 7 boards. Got a little physical for 4 fouls and a couple turns. Done a very impressive job.
Interesting situation as we take a look at a quick release by Holiday and a miss for Cleveland. The amount of shooters on the wings. Obviously, you've got Kyle Korver, Shetty, who's been playing here as well. Rodney Hood, if you get him back, let's assume they do. J.R. Smith back for the team. And then you've got the point guards in Hill and Sexton. You could use at least one more shooter, right?
Well, you can. And again, that was always their goal. They wanted to surround LeBron. Kevin Love, of course, is an excellent three-point shooter also, but I think they're planning on using him a little more. They're certainly not going to stop him shooting threes, but I think they're going to want him inside a little bit more. And we have a rare occurrence in the Summer League, a shot clock violation.
Yes. Actually, Mo Bamba playing a game and forced 4 different shot clock violations in one game here.
We talked about it earlier. Chaka Smart, his coach, talking about how far advanced he is on the defensive end of the floor.
Sexton with 7 turnovers.
Turnaround jumper, TJ Lee.
As TJ Lee scores, he's been scuffling on offense today. He had the same trouble game 1. He's now 5 for 14 from the floor with 13 points.
Talk to me. Right.
Foul down below, Poitras.
4-point game as we wind down in the fourth quarter. The team's picking up their defensive intensity and getting a little more hesitant on offense. Not as much flow to the game right now. It's kind of morphed into a half-court game.
It's still close. I mean, we had an
it's a good game.
8-point gap. That was close when Holly and Sexton went head-to-head. Osman.
Tough shot. Not a good possession there. I don't think James Posey would have been happy with that.
7 lead changes, 7 ties so far. Leaf.
Not finishing. Billy Preston's doing a good job staying in front of him. Billy Preston is long and he's got those broad shoulders. Could be a very good defender.
And Marcus Lee just missed a chippy. I was going to say that it wasn't just Preston, it's Marcus Lee as well. Their version of the Twin Towers. Speaking of the Twin Towers, Orlando Phoenix tonight, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 here in Vegas. Also available on the ESPN app and also on NBA TV. Oh my.
Well, fortunately that game is next door in Thomas and Mack because Cox Pavilion here, it's a very nice gym. The women's team at UNLV, the volleyball team also plays here, but it would not be big enough to handle that crowd. Phoenix, of course, not very far away. I think 4.5-hour drive, something like that. The excitement to see DeAndre Ayton, in this case, go against Mo Bamba. That's going to be a big house next door.
And that's part of the beauty of the Summer League, the matchups that you see. We're seeing a beautiful one today between Holiday and Sexton.
That's right. The point guard, we got the point guard matchup here, and then we got the bigs going at it. And Warren Legari, the executive director, who's done such a great job with his partner Albert Hall in just growing this NBA Summer League. I was reading an article in the paper this morning, and what they talked about was how fortunate they were to have these two facilities connected where you can go back and forth and they can put whatever game they want in Thomas and Mack and the other games over here. It's really an ideal location for the NBA Summer League.
A crossover. Sexton all the way.
Sexton lays it into the Cavs bucket.
And there's a little trash talk after that basket.
Colin Sexton, very, very impressive. He's gotten a little bit the better of Aaron Holiday so far this afternoon.
He's got 17 points. Leaf found the handle in time.
Colin got knocked down. He's talking to his teammate, Okara White. Okara saying, "What are you doing down there?"
Of course, Sexton and Holiday will be facing each other as division rivals several times a year, for hopefully many, many years to come. See a foul on Sexton.
Colin Sexton getting some words from James Posey. There he turns the corner, now inside out, left hand finish. That's an impressive rookie move.
Two-point Cavalier lead, 2:43 to go in the fourth quarter. This is part of the complex here, the Thomas and Mack Center and the Cox Pavilion. As take a look at the comparison today between Aaron Holiday and Colin Sexton.
Well, you see the points. Colin with the slight advantage. He's obviously shot the ball very well. But when you look at the other numbers, Aaron Holiday 6 assists but 7 turnovers. Colin Sexton 4 assists, 4 turnovers. And on the boards, Aaron Holiday a big plus. 5 defensive rebounds for Aaron Holiday, none for Colin Sexton. I'm going to give a slight advantage. It's about the team and about the team score, but maybe a little more positives from Colin Sexton. But again, you can see what both of these guys are capable of bringing to the table.
Great defensive waves on defense to thwart TJ Leaf's attempt. Now 7 turnovers in a game. What's the NBA record for most turnovers in a game? We know that the record for most assists in a game with 30. Who had more turnovers in a game in NBA history?
It's probably a good player because it's somebody that has the ball in his hand a lot. So it's probably a point guard that has an assist record.
How about Jason Kidd?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Tying with John Drew with 14 each, and right behind them is Chris Mullin with 13.
Yep.
Now, are Summer League turnovers like Summer League fouls? You don't worry about them too much?
No. You don't worry about them too much. You certainly worry about them. You don't want to see a big number. And again, it's the ratio an awful lot. Assist turnover. Jetty Osmond's going, I was fouled. TJ Leaf thought he had all ball. But no, you want to see the ratio. You don't ever want to see a lot of turnovers. But it's not an accident that Jay Kidd has the record. Jay Kidd also is, if anybody was ever going to get close to John Stockton, Jay Kidd was, in that vein. But as long as you're getting some assists, as long as you're making your teammates better, you have to expect turnovers. You're not always going to be on the same page. But the ratios today, I'm sure both coaches will talk with their guys. As we said, Aaron Holiday, 6 assists, 7 turnovers. 7 turnovers sounds terrible, but 6 assists, okay, that balances it a little bit. Colin 4 and 4, 4 assists, 4 turnovers. No, steady diet of that, you wouldn't want it. When we were focusing on Colin Sexton's stats, it finally occurred to me he's very fortunate. He played for Avery Johnson in college. Now he's going to get a chance to play for Tyronn Lue. Two different type players, but 2 point guards who know an awful lot about playing in this league.
Osman with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and speaking of assists, he's got 6 dimes so far. And both coaches have basically brought in, for the last minute and a half, their starting 5.
No, they both wanted to win it, but Cleveland came up with a couple big shots. Edmund Sumner's not letting go of it. Back down to 4, and we've got ourselves a game. 14 points for the Musketeer, the former Musketeer from Xavier.
Second 3 of the game, both in the second half. The entry pass, huh? A little tricky always. So Sexton says, all right, if that's not available, I'm going in.
That's a big basket. You can't get all the way to the rim with a minute left in a 4-point game like that. That's too easy.
19 points for him. Holly, on the other hand, he's been deflected, but it goes out of bounds.
Yeah, he got in, and he thought Alize Johnson was going to stay where he was. He didn't. Here's the crossover right there. He's into the rim. Aaron Holiday got beat. Alize Johnson, I'm surprised. Normally he's going to contest that. There was very little contest at the rim.
8 turnovers for Holiday.
Pacers need a couple of stops and maybe a couple of threes.
Trap. Over to the open. Sexton had an open shot. He goes to Preston. And Preston gets fouled.
Good patience, good ball movement by the Cavaliers. They got it to the weak side of the floor. Billy Preston didn't settle for the jump shot. Put it on the floor and got to the rim, earned a trip to the free throw line. Well played.
So we're entering, of course, the last 2 minutes of the game in which you can have a challenge.
The lights are on, but they're not blinking. Look at the green lights on the scores table right there. Actually, is one blinking.
Yeah, one is blinking.
All right, see if we have it right.
Steve Gansey's.
Well, I'll tell you what, it has to occur with a timely timeout. What they mean is the timeout had to occur before Billy Preston shot that first free throw.
Yeah.
So I do not think they're going to allow him to get the timeout or the protest right now.
Each team allowed one coach's challenge during the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, anytime during OT. If it's successful, you keep your timeout and you gain the chance of a second challenge.
But the word they use is a timely timeout, and that's what didn't occur right there. Steve Gansey may have wanted it, wasn't able to get it before they handed Billy Preston the ball to shoot the first one.
So nobody hit it. It just went off on its own. I was going to tell you that's so rare for Steve to make that mistake because they have that in the G League.
Well, there you have it. Again, that's a glitch that we should expect. First time they're trying to do it here. It's 2 games in a row. Yesterday they tried to get one also, and they didn't have a timeout, so it was misrecognized.
Cavaliers closing the game with an 8-point lead. Leaf all the way.
TJ Leaf with the finger roll.
Well, the Cavs not going to foul. They're going to allow you to go in. See if the Pacers are going to foul.
2 steps and right to the bucket.
Sexton,
He's got 21 points and assists by Holland. 20 seconds to go, and it's back up to an 8-point Cleveland Cavalier lead.
Switch. You good, Bryce? You good? You good, baby? Straight. Same thing. Marcus, you. Let's get it stopped, y'all. Come on, let's get it stopped. Get it stopped. Come on.
Tremendous sound from our wire today as we take a look at the bulging totals. Cedi Osman with 23 points, Aaron with 12.
And thanks to Matt Myers, the official who came over and explained to us what happened. They did actually try and challenge, and we're going to confuse our viewers, our listeners now. Steve Gansey, who is the head coach of Fort Wayne in the G League. In the G League, you are allowed to challenge whether the ball was tipped and deflected out of bounds. With the Summer League rules we have, you are not. So he was correct in trying to challenge. He thought, referee went over to him and explained it's a different set of rules here in the Summer League.
Not that kind of foul as we take a timeout. Cleveland up 5, 17 to go in the fourth. Everybody getting ready for the next game. Whatever the next game may be, we have our next game. The Charlotte Hornets will face the Celtics, the summer Celtics. All ready, prim, proper, and pumped. There's Billy Hernan Gomez and Charlotte getting ready under Jay Hernandez. A couple of Jays will be coaching.
Yes, sir.
Head
Going
to
at
head.
each other, right?
As we take a look at the close of our Cleveland-Indiana game. Very, very fun game so far.
Good game back and forth. We had a good point guard matchup. Cavs with just a little bit better shooting.
As Sumner whiffed on the foul. He wanted to foul Osman, so Holly had to come in and do it.
Indiana foul number 3, Aaron Holiday, his third personal
Cleveland
foul.
finally settled down a little bit with the turnovers, still ended up with 17, as did Indiana for a good chunk of the game. It was the turnovers that were, Cleveland turnovers were keeping Indiana in the game.
So you just heard Larry Nance and his mood and attitude. You see Jetty Osman play today. That's got to fill you with some hope and excitement. Colin Sexton is a keeper. Very much so.
No, Colin Sexton's going to be a very good player. There's no question about that. And they're going to be playing in as Tyronn Lue. They're going to be playing in an Eastern Conference minus LeBron James, whose teams, Miami and Cleveland, were in 8 straight finals. But I mean, you know, let's be serious. We're talking a major, major rebuild. You look back, 1 year, and you had the triumvirate.
Pacers timeout.
Kyrie, LeBron, and Kevin Love, and the roster that the Cavs will be playing with this year, night and day different.
7-point Cleveland lead and a timeout by Steve Gansey as we take a look at that roster. Look at the amount of shooters, though. And you know that Kyle Korver's going to be 38 years old next season.
Kyle Korver, when he's 58 years old, is still going to be a great shooter. Every time he shoots it, I expect it to go in.
He did struggle in the finals.
He did, but I still think there's a lot of game left there for him. Tristan Thompson, of course, went from not playing very much to back in his starting lineup and really did a good job. Ante Zizic, we did not see him this afternoon, but has played very well here in Las Vegas. But again, the comparison of this lineups, there's a number of teams in the East right now that I think started the season. I like the roster a lot more. I think it's going to be a challenge for Tyronn Lue, but Lue is certainly up to that challenge, no question. Good news, too, for a lot of fans. We get questions, how's Tyronn Lue feeling? He took the leave during the year. Feels very good. Looks good, feels good. Nothing like summer to get you back.
The young man on the left of Larry Nance on your camera is Mike Gansey, who's the assistant GM for Kobe Altman. As we take a look, how do you replace LeBron James? You replace at least 20% of something, in this case steals. Everything else is 20 and above, including the assists. It was a LeBron-centered world in Cleveland, and now they have to do it in a very different way. They've got some quality pieces.
They have some quality pieces.
It's defining roles, PJ, that you have to redefine roles now.
They certainly do, but in answer to the question, how do you replace LeBron James? You don't, period. Do not replace LeBron James.
Sumner again, long range. And
Basket has had a lid on it for TJ Leaf. He's been in that paint all night and has not been able to get it to fall.
As Osman will dribble it away, the Cavaliers win. They're 2-1 in Vegas. Indiana falls to 1-2, and they will both continue into the elimination round. Shetty Osman, PJ, with 25 points, 21 for Colin Sexton.
Both teams split the quarter point again.
I like that Sexton looked well. Jetty Osman, there's no question they asked him to be more aggressive and do some things, and he's done that. He showed the ability to put the ball on the floor. He showed the ability to shoot it from deep. I think that's really good. Colin Sexton, to me, I thought you described it very well, Alvaro. At times in the game, he looked, a little bit hyper, but then the game slowed down a little bit. He made really good decisions, knew when to shoot it, and some good passes.
And George now has a very special guest. George.
Thanks, Alvaro. We're here with Jetty Osman. Jetty, you spent a lot of time with the big club last year. What are you looking to accomplish here at Summer League?
I think this year is going to be a big opportunity for me, I feel like I'm stronger. I worked a lot during the last year, and I was waiting for the opportunity to get, and hopefully this season I will have more opportunity to play and to show what I'm capable of.
How much easier is it for you out here right now?
I mean, this is my first Summer League experience, but playing last year with those guys, with Ron and those guys, it makes me so good, and I feel much better and much stronger. And I can feel that when I'm playing.
You mentioned LeBron. Obviously, you spent some time with him last year. What was that like for you as such a young player playing in the NBA for the first time?
it was an amazing year. It was an amazing year, really. I think that every player's dream is to play with Bron, and I reached that dream, and I was trying to learn a lot from him. And thanks to him, he helped me a lot. And we was going out for dinner, lunches, and he was always telling me about his experience and what he's expecting from me. I'm really thankful. He's great.
What are your goals, I guess, for this upcoming season? I know we're still a ways away, but for you guys in the Cavs without LeBron, what's the expectation?
You know, I think this year especially I will try to take more responsibility, and I will try to give my best still and to play like with a high energy. And as I said, I will try to take more responsibility and to help the team.
Jetty, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, guys, back to you.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Jetty. And we're going to stay with the Cavalier theme, BJ.
We certainly are.
The man of the hour and the man of the future, Colin Sexton, joining us. Thank you very much for joining us. Catch your breath a little bit if you can.
Yeah, I'm good.
Because you move at a rate. We were just talking about a replay we showed in slow motion. I told PJ, that didn't even look like slow motion. You moved too fast on that court.
Right. I just try to use my speed to my advantage and try to get around defenders. That's about it.
But we noticed today that you use your patience and you're slowing down at times to your advantage as well.
Right. Coach Lou, he told me to just try to change speeds while I'm out there. If I change speeds, then I'll put defenders on their heel, and be able to get shots that I want to shoot. So
You did a good job getting to the rim. You recognized very well, Colin, whether the help was there or not. That time you pulled up, shot over the big. When they weren't there, you got all the way to the rim. Left hand right there, really good job. You know, your college coach and I worked together for a couple of years with the Nets and in New Jersey and in Brooklyn. Tell me some of the things that he talked to you about that maybe you're using right here in Summer League already.
Honestly, he just told me to make sure that my guys are together, make sure there is no outcasts, make sure nobody is trying to hurt the team any type of way. Just make sure that everybody's together in one. And then also he just taught me how to run the pick and roll. As you see, he told me to look for my different options while I'm out there and just play my game. And when I'm out there, just be myself, and that's about it.
You've got to be in charge of a team, and yet you had a great matchup today with Aaron Holiday. And it looked at times, there was a moment in the second quarter where it was just you and Aaron just shooting it out. It was a lot of fun. The game actually, you guys pulled out, then he kind of brought his team back up. What a duel, and you may be seeing that duel for 10 years.
For sure. He's actually a really good player. That was my first time ever getting play against him. I felt like he was a tough matchup. He put me on my heels the whole game. So just learning, that was the biggest thing. Just going out there and playing different players and just going out there and competing, that's the biggest thing.
More comfortable each game. Now 3 games under your belt. You got 7 boards in the first game.
Right.
You've shown like a little bit different options to your game each succeeding game.
Like Coach Lou said, when I'm out there, just do whatever it takes for the team to win. And that's my motto also. Just whatever the team needs, I'm going to do it. That's the biggest thing.
Now I noticed as well that there was a moment there where you try to feed Seti a post pass, an entry pass, and he was covered. You said, okay, I'm just going to take it right to the hole.
Right.
It looks simple to you.
Just like if they're overplaying it, just go away from it. Don't keep trying to force it down there. Just play. That's the biggest thing. Just going out there and play and being who I am and attacking and being aggressive so the defense can't.
And at the end of the game, you had an wide open 3 from the wing, and you passed it on to Billy Preston.
Oh yeah. He was calling for it. He wanted the ball, and I'm gonna give it to him, just to give him back on getting his rhythm back because he missed last game. So just getting his rhythm back and seeing the free throw go in, that's the biggest thing. That's to get his confidence. So.
Now, you mentioned that you wanted to learn, or you were inspired by Kevin Garnett's trash talking. Have you started doing that here in the Summer League?
A little bit.
I noticed that.
Yeah, a little bit. Honestly, when I'm out there, I just do it, play my game. That's the biggest thing. So.
Colin, it's fun to watch. It was fun watching you at Alabama. It's going to be fun to watch you in the NBA. So good luck and
thank you.
Best of health the rest of the way. It's going to be a great year
enjoy it
for you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you very, very much. Colin Sexton, 8th overall pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, putting up a show. Coming up next, Charlotte Hornets, Boston Celtics. As we say goodbye, our final score, Cavaliers 93, Pacers 88. Stay with us with the Celtics and the Hornets coming up next.